Okay, we're going to look at notes 5. So we're going to look at solving a quadratic by factoring. This is a big topic that we're going to be going through. We're going to spend some time on this. This is going to go for PCC6 for IXL, and we're going to review the zero product property first. So if the product of two factors, these are numbers that you multiply, is 0, then at least one of the factors must be 0. So you're saying that 1 will be 0 and then something else will be another number. Remember, these numbers can be imaginary or real, just depends. So let's go ahead and look at the first example. 25x squared plus 15x equals 0. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the GCF. So to find the GCF, you have to take out the greatest common factor. That's what that means. I know that these are both products of 5 because they end in 5. I know that I have an x in each. So I'm going to factor out my GCF. My GCF in this case is going to be 5x. So I'm going to put the GCF on the outside, and then we're going to fill in the inside. So my GCF, so 25x squared divided by 5x is going to be 5x. 15x divided by 5x is going to be a positive 3. And then we have this equal to 0. So you're going to say equal to 0. And then you're going to have two equations. And then you're going to solve. So those are the steps. So the first equation is going to be 5x equals 0. Your second equation is going to be 5x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, so we have the two equations, and now we're going to solve. The first one, you're going to undo the operation. The inverse operation is 5. Divide both sides by 5. X equals 0. In the second equation, you're going to solve for x. So minus 3 minus 3. 5x equals negative 3. Divide both sides by 5. And then your solution is going to be x equals 0, comma, negative 3/5. And it's okay to have fractions. So that's your solution. Okay, in your second example, which is pretty nice because it's already factored for us, you have y minus 4 is a group times y plus 9, which is our second group, equals 0. So these are linear expressions. So we have these great linear expressions, and now we're going to set them equal to 0. So y minus 4 equals 0. The second one is going to be y plus 9 equals 0. The first one, you don't need to find the GCF in this case. We have the two equations, and then we're going to solve. Plus 4, y equals 4. In the second equation, y plus 9 equals 0. Minus 9, y equals negative 9. This is your solution. Y equals 4, comma, negative 9. You need to put a box around your solutions. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to solve for a quadratic by factoring. So you want to factor by the GCF, and then this is kind of going to look like the first example 1, and then we're going to continue down with example 3. So factoring a GCF. So we're going to factor out the GCF. So you have a left-hand side and a right-hand side of the equation, and it's going to be split down like that. So let's go ahead and work on the left-hand side. 110x squared plus 10x equals 0. So we're going to factor out our GCF. It's going to be 10x, and then you're going to build your equation. So you have 10x 110x squared divided by 10x. So I'm going to have 11x. 10x divided by 10x is going to be plus 1. And then all of this is still equal to 0. So now we're going to make two equations. So you're going to GCF. That's your first step. 2 is two new equations. And then 3 is going to be to solve. So let's go ahead and make our new equation. So we have 10x equals 0. The second equation is 11x plus 1 equals 0. In the first equation, you're going to say 10x equals 0. You're going to divide both sides by 10 and say x equals 0. In the second equation, you're going to solve for x. You're going to say minus 1, 11x equals negative 1. You're going to divide both sides by 11. And then your solutions are going to be x equals 0. Remember those cross out. Comma 1 over 11. And that's a negative number. And either one of those is your solutions. Okay, let's look at example 3. This is GCF, factoring a GCF. And then we're going to do it again with example 3. So I have g squared plus 5g equals 0. And I'm just going to go ahead and take out my g. So g squared plus 5g equals 0. I know my greatest common factor is going to be a g. And then I'm going to build whatever I have left over. So g squared divided by g is g. 5g plus 5g divided by g is plus 5. And then we're going to make our sets. Our new equations, g equals 0, g plus 5 equals 0. And minus 5, g equals negative 5. Our solution is g equals 0, comma negative 5. Okay, now we have what's called the AC method. And this is going to go with example 4. AC method is going to be a trinomial or quadratic. So it's going to be 9h squared plus 37h plus 4. And we're going to say that the coefficients are going to be the variables a, b, and c. So let's go ahead and start factoring. So we're going to say that a equals 9, b equals 37, and c equals 4. Okay, so then you're going to say a times c, which is going to be 9 times 4 equals 36. And then you factor to find whichever is going to equal to b. So b in this case is 37. We have a positive and positive, so we know that both of our signs are going to be positive. So 36, and let's just talk about the factors. I have 9 and 4, and if I add those together, do I get 37? No. I have a positive 6 and a positive 6. Add those together, do I get 37? No. I have 12 and 3. Do I add those together, get 37? No. So then I have 1 and 36. Add those together, I get a 37. So this is going to be my factor. So basically what you're doing is you're breaking up the center term. Okay, so now that we have our factors, we're going to expand. So you're going to expand, and then you're going to have GCF as a step, and then you're going to have new groups. And then you're going to solve for x. So this is going to take a second. Let's rewrite the equation with the new center. We're going to have 9h squared plus, it doesn't matter the order, 1h plus 36h plus 4 equals 0. So you're going to expand, and then you need to find the GCF. So before you find the GCF, you're going to need to make new groups. So let's make our new groups. And all this is still equal to 0. So we're going to say 9h squared plus 1h, 36h plus 4. And then you're going to factor out a GCF. In this first case, my GCF is going to be h. So I'm going to say that I have h is my GCF. My group is going to become, this is my group, 9h squared divided by h is going to be 9h. 1h divided by h is going to be plus 1. In the second group, you're going to factor out a 4. So then you're going to say plus 4 because you're factoring a positive 4. And your group is going to be 36h divided by 4 is 9h. 4 divided by 4 is positive 1. And you're going to make your new groups now. So when these two match, that's your first group. 9h plus 1. And then whatever's left over is going to be your new group, your second new group, which is h plus 4. So you have your new groups, and now you're going to factor. So we're going to take this, move it here. I need to adjust the camera. So now we're going to say, okay, all of this is equal to 0. And now I'm going to factor. And I need to see all of this work every problem. 9h plus 1 equals 0. H plus 4 equals 0. Minus 1 minus 1. 9h equals negative 1. Divide by 9, divide by 9. H equals negative 1 over 9. Minus 4 minus 4. H equals negative 4. Your solution is h equals negative 1 over 9, comma, negative 4. And that's it. Okay, so we're going to do all this work again that we did in the AC method in example number 4. So let's go ahead and do this together. All right, so if you have a 1 here, it's 1m squared, so that's going to be a, b, and c. A equals 1, B equals negative 17, and C equals negative 18. We have AC, which is multiplication of 1 times negative 18, which gives me negative 18. And then you have the factors of negative 18 that have to add up to B, which is going to be negative 17. So the factors of negative 18 that add up to negative 17, since this is a negative number, I know that I'm going to have different signs, and the larger number is going to be the negative number. So I'm going to be 18 and 1. When I add them together, they equal negative 17. So that's it. So this is the expand. And then you're going to do GCF. And then you're going to do your new groups. Okay, so I have m squared minus 18m plus 1m minus 18 equals 0. I have expanded, and then you're going to find your GCF, so you're going to need to group. I have m squared minus 18m. 1m minus 18 equals 0. So let's group those with a different, some more distinct parentheses. And then we're going to factor. So in this first set, I'm going to factor out an m because I don't have any other thing in common. So it's going to be m on the outside, and your group is going to be m minus 18. In the second set, there's nothing for me to factor out, so I can factor out a plus 1. When there's nothing to factor out, you factor out a plus 1. And then you recreate this. And I go 1m divided by 1 is m. Negative 18 divided by 1 is negative 18. And that's my second group. So now that I have these at checkout, I now have my new groups. M minus 18. My second group is going to be made by my GCF, m plus 1. And then we're going to take all this, and we're going to solve. So, m minus 18 equals 0, m plus 1 equals 0. Plus 18 plus 18, m equals 18, minus 1, m equals negative 1. M equals 18 comma negative 1. Okay, let's look at example A. So here you have 4m squared minus 44m plus 122. So I want you to just do the GCF only in this case. So I kind of gave you too much up here to do. This doesn't really apply. This is just GCF only. So in questions like A and B, you're going to have to take out the GCF before you start the problem. So you're going to take out a 2 here, and your GCF, taking out the 2, you're going to be left with 2m squared minus 22m plus 61 equals 0. And then when you solve this, you're going to say 2 divided by 2m squared minus 22m plus 61. Divide both sides by 2. Then you're left with 2m squared minus 22m plus 61 equals 0. And then this is what you want to factor. But this we can only do with a quadratic equation. So this is a quadratic equation only, and we're not doing that today. Okay, so let's look at B. Write the proper solution as an integer, proper fraction, improper fraction in simplest form. If there are multiple solutions, separate with a comma, box your solution. Okay, so this is a long problem. 27w squared minus 144 minus 72w. So the first thing you want to do is you want to have this actually equal to 0. So you're going to need to move this over just somewhere in here. So 27w squared minus 144 equals negative 72w. I'm going to add 72w to both sides. Okay, it's a w variable, and that's a w squared, and that doesn't have a variable, so it's just going to go one right after the other. So I get 27w squared plus 72w minus 144 equals 0. So now I'm going to take out my GCF. These are all really large numbers, and so they're going to be harder to factor. So you want to take off your GCF to make it easy. 27, 72, and 144 have a 9 in common. So you're going to factor out a 9, and you're going to say 27w squared divided by 9, 3w squared. 72w divided by 9 is going to be 8w. And then 144 divided by 9 is going to be negative 16 equals 0. So we know if we divide 9 out by both sides, let me just write it clearly so you can see it. Divide 9 by both sides, it goes away. So now we're left with a new equation. 3w squared plus 8w minus 16 equals 0. So now we can do the AC method. So we know we have A equals 3, B equals 8, and C equals negative 16. Okay, so let's just kind of work to the left. We know that AC is going to be negative 48. So it's 3 times negative 16. I want to find the factors that add to 8. So I know that I'm going to have, let's see. I know that they're going to be positive. So one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative, because it adds to a negative 8, which is B. So let's look at, I think we want to do 12 and 4. If I add 12 plus 4, I get 8. Okay, so this one checks out. So then work underneath. So with all of this information, we can now expand. So we're going to expand. Then you have your GCF. And then you have your new groups. So you're going to say 3w squared plus 8, plus 8, do another color. 3w squared plus 8w minus 16 equals 0. Let's expand. 3w squared plus 12w minus 4w minus 16 equals 0. It does not matter the order that you put these factors in. The order does not matter. And then GCF, so we have to make our groups. 3w squared plus 12w. My second group is negative 4w minus 16 equals 0. Okay, so let's take out my GCF from the first group. I have a 3w as a GCF, so it's 3w. And then I'm left with w plus 4. These are both negative numbers. So because that's a negative right there and that's a negative right there, we're going to factor out a negative 4. Because they both have a 4 in common. And then negative 4w divided by 4 is going to be 4. Or no, it's just going to be w. And then negative 16 divided by negative 4 is going to be positive 4. These are the same. So I'm going to get w plus 4. The second ones make their own group. 3w minus 4 equals 0. And then we're going to solve for x. So w plus 4 equals 0. 3w minus 4 equals 0. Minus 4 minus 4. W equals negative 4. Minus 4 minus 4. 3w equals negative 4. 3w equals negative 4. Divide both sides by 3. W equals negative 4 comma negative 4 over 3. Okay. In this example, 27w minus 144 equals negative 72w. You need to move this over to the left because we want it to be a trinomial. We want this to be equal to 0. So let's see what this is going to look like when we move it over. Minus 144 equals negative 72w. You're going to add 72w to both sides. I know it doesn't go anything, but that's okay. So you're just going to write one right after the other. Remember, it's from high to low based on the exponent. So it's 27w squared minus or plus 72w minus 144 equals 0. And now I just want you to take out the GCF like the way you did the other one. Because these numbers are so large, we need to take out the GCF so we can get a simpler equation. So the numbers that they have in common are going to be, I guess it has 3 in common or 9. So 9 goes into 27, 9 goes into 72, and 9 goes into 144. So let's go ahead and pick 9. So remember, we want to get whole numbers. And this is going to be 9 goes into 27 3 times. 9 goes into 72 8 times. 9 goes into 144 16 times. Okay, and then we can divide both sides by the 9 to get it out of the way. So then you're left with a new equation, 3w squared plus 8w minus 16. Okay. Okay, the next step is to take that new equation, which is going to be 3w squared plus 8w minus 16, and we're going to factor that now. 3w squared plus 8w minus 16 equals 0. So we want to do A, B, and C. This is A, this is B, this is C. We know that that's going to be 3, 8, negative 16. And then we go A, C, which is going to be 3 times negative 16 equals 48. My factors of 48 that add to positive 8, so negative 48, are going to be a 12 and a 4. And I know this is going to be the positive and that's going to be the negative. So you did your GCF. You want to expand. And then you want to group. You're going to do GCF again, and then group again. This is your new group. Okay, so let's expand the center term. So I have 3w squared, it doesn't matter the order, plus 12w minus 4w minus 16 equals 0. Now we're going to group these together, right, in parentheses. We're going to say 3w squared plus 12w minus 4w minus 16 equals 0. You want to find the GCF from each group. In this first set, I'm going to take out a 3w. So that leaves me with w plus 4. In the second set, I'm going to take out a negative 4 because they're both negative and they need to be positive. And I'm going to be left with w plus 4 again. All that's equal to 0. This is going to be my first group. That's my first new group, w plus 4. And this is going to be my second group, 3w minus 4 equals 0. Both of those, so all together, w plus 4 equals 0. 3w minus 4 equals 0. Minus 4 minus 4, w equals negative 4. Plus 4 plus 4. 3w equals 4. Divide both sides by 3. W equals negative 4 comma 4 over 3. And that's your solution. Okay, so d squared minus 249 equals 0. So this is going to be GCF. Right, so you're going to do that step first. And take out the 6, and you're going to have d squared minus 49 equals 0. 6 d squared minus 49 equals 0. Divide both sides by 6. So you get d squared minus 49 equals 0. This is our new equation. So this is called difference of squares. And all you need to know is this first term is a perfect square because it expands to d and d. And then this right here is a perfect square because it's 7 times 7. And then we call it the difference because it has that negative sign in between. So when you're factoring this, you're just going to make your groups ahead of time. And the groups basically have a commonality. I know I'm going to have a d here and a d here, a 7 here, and a 7 here. But because it doesn't have a middle term, you're going to say I have a plus here and a minus. And then you're going to set both of those equal to 0. So in the end, you can just solve for the variable. And then d plus 7 equals 0, minus 7 minus 7. D equals negative 7. d minus 7 equals 0, plus 7 plus 7, d equals 7. So your solution is going to be d equals negative 7, comma 7. Okay, this is your last example. This one's kind of broken up for you. You have negative 968 equals negative 32n squared. And we're just going to go from there. So what you want to do here is you want to get the n squared by itself. And by doing that, you're going to divide both sides by negative 32. So let's say divide by negative 32 to get the n squared by itself. N equals, and just for your information, whenever you're dividing by fractions or by different signs, a negative divided by negative equals a positive divided by a positive equals a positive, negative divided by a positive equals a negative divided by a negative equals a negative. Okay, so we have two negatives divided by, so I'm going to have n squared equals 968 divided by 32. And I want to simplify this. So I want to simplify. The way I'm going to simplify is by reducing. I know that 8 goes into both of these numbers. So I'm going to say n squared is going to be 121 divided by 4. I'm going to take the square root of both sides to get n by itself. And that's going to be like this. N squared equals the square root of 121 divided by the square root of 4. So then n equals positive and negative 11 over 4. If we put this in a, like, box my answer, put this together, I'm going to have n equals negative 11 over 4, comma 11 over 4. And that's my solution.